going on, folks? This is Coach Marcus Pro Fan Talk. One thing that has been happening ever since the whole Caitlin Clark, Chennedy Carter situation happened, and this is one of the things I mentioned a while ago. I'm talking about right around the draft, and that was when the WNBA gets the attention that comes with Clark and Angel Reese and Rakea and Brink and all of that rookie class. The attention you're going to get is going to bring in eyeballs and opinions from other sources. And I mentioned a phrase talking about like play the game. And I was referring to something that many people have already mentioned. What happened with David Stern and the NBA when Michael Jordan came in the league. Everybody knows when Jordan came into the league, David Stern changed the rules because he was getting beat up. They realized he was the attention getter. He was the money maker for the league. So he changed the rules to benefit that, to maximize that potential. And that's exactly what happened. Also, at the same time, ESPN became a thing. The WNBA is kind of in the same situation because they have a player that is garnering this much attention. But the one thing that I was worried about, when you get all of these other outside sources that all of a sudden want to chime in, it can pollute the overall message. Now, everybody's got their opinions on is there hate for Caitlin Clark? Do they have a bounty on her? Do they have it out for her? And all of that kind of stuff. And let me be honest with you, I had the knee-jerk reaction after the Chennedy Carter incident. But I do stand by my point about stop messing with the money. You know what I mean? You got to do what you can within the rules to try to protect your players and the integrity of the league. But I still believe that for the most part, they could have done that if the referees simply would have blown the whistle a little bit more. Now, ever since that issue has happened, the referees have been very generous with blowing the whistle. And at least in my opinion, it definitely didn't seem like that before. Now, here's the other problem, because now you got all of these other parties inputting their opinions in the mix. And when you say other parties, you talking about people that's in the politics that have no business talking about sports. These are the same people that told LeBron to shut up and dribble. That aspect of it. When you got people like Bill O'Reilly and you get YouTube channels called Chicks on the Right. And what I've begun to do is I'm looking at all of this content being created on this issue, on the Caitlin Clark issue. So now what I found myself doing is if I see a video on YouTube, I will click on that person's channel and go through all of the videos that they've created. Now, if they don't have any videos or no content about Caitlin Clark, about sports, about the WNBA further back than 3 days ago, I know they on some BS. I know they jumping on the bandwagon. They gonna throw their little political stuff into the mix, and they in there just to get a story. Bill O'Reilly can't name one person in the WNBA. Now all of a sudden he got an opinion. You didn't have an opinion when she got drafted. You didn't have an opinion when she was at Iowa. You didn't have an opinion from anybody else for that matter. So it's, and I'm certainly not a gatekeeper because I'm a rookie fan too. But I've been doing my homework. I've been invested in this league. I've been invested in the NCAA women's tournament since 2 years ago. So while I'm not as experienced and in-depth in the league as a lot of other fans are, like I said, I've been doing my homework and I've been putting my time. And I ain't trying to speak out of turn. I'm going by what I see. And this is the problem that Kathy Engelberg, you gotta, saying do the right thing is not the right phrase. You gotta do right by the league. And in my opinion, based on what I've seen, is you just got to make the refs blow the whistle to call a fair game. Because that's the one thing I did notice when I really started watching the WNBA. Everybody is bitching about these fouls. And not only are they bitching about the fouls, when people are getting clobbered and losing their feet and getting slammed down and there's no calls, that looks suspect. And you get what you get. You get all of this conversation about people targeting Caitlin Clark, and that's not the case. When you look at everything in totality, you see that Chennedy Carter situation and you understand that that's an outlier. That don't happen every day. They're not throwing cheap shots every day. Now, you might have altercations and some face-to-face confrontations after a play or if somebody gets fouled and doesn't like it and they get in each other's face and they want to jaw jack a little bit. That happens at every game, in every sport, at every stadium, every week. But what happened with Chennedy Carter was after the play. I mean, you saw the play. If you haven't seen it, then you shouldn't be in the conversation anyways. But that was an outlier because even with Chennedy Carter's history, she hasn't done anything like that this year, at least not I've seen. I could be wrong. But when you get all of these other people that haven't any content about the WNBA, really not a sports channel, but they just jumping in the conversation. That's what the WNBA doesn't want, because that's going to be very, very divisive, especially when you consider stuff like that seems to gain its own momentum, especially when you going towards November elections and all of that kind of stuff. You already know how this stuff can be a powder keg. If you putting out content about the WNBA and you still talking about Chennedy Carter, you need to stop. If you ain't done enough homework to get the woman's name right, just go ahead and stop. And don't even be a part of the conversation. Because you don't mean it and you jumping into it just so you can say you had something to say.